Welcome to the latest episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. Today's video is our second installment where I sit down with my co-host, veteran pit crew member Cory Demarco, and a guest. This week's guest is Mike Hicks, tire changer of the number 54 car and Ty Gibbs. In our conversation, Hicks talks about working this season with the rookie and shares some of the stories from his 16 years with Joe Gibbs Racing, including working with Denny Hamlin and the number 11 team. And this episode is sponsored by FanMag, the publisher of the official NASCAR Cup Series yearbook. If you haven't ever been to the site, I highly recommend that you go check it out because you can order the yearbook and incredible photographic prints from each race of your favorite driver. Now, let's get to the interview. Hey Cory, it's good to see you again. Mike, welcome to this episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. We got a lot to talk about in this episode, so let's dive right in. So Mike, I know after talking to you a little bit, you're not the first one in your family to be on pit road in NASCAR. So talk to me a little bit about the experience, how you got into NASCAR, because obviously with your dad leading the way. Tell me about that experience.
So pretty much my whole life, my dad has been in racing, so I've been around it since I was, able to walk. And so he was a tire changer. And I told myself I would never follow those footsteps, but look how that worked out for me. He changed tires, and then he started. He got out of changing tires and started doing like lifted trucks and stuff like that. And I worked for him at a young age. And he had an old practice hub at the shop. So at lunchtime, sometimes I would just play around with it. And that's kind of how it all started. And then I decided to go work for a truck team just to be a mechanic. And one of the road guys that changed tires ended up getting hurt. And they're like, hey, you think you can go to the racetrack this weekend? And I'm like, sure, I'll try it. Well, I wasn't very good, but I still did it. But yeah, that's kind of how I got my start.
Okay. It's amazing how times have changed, eh, Mike?
Yeah, big time.
Like it was so different way back in the day. Like, what was the first year? What year was that? You remember?
Probably 06.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I had actually had lunch with old Larry Mack yesterday, so he really reminisces way back. But we threw back on a few oldies.
Yeah, it's kind of the sports changed tremendously for sure.
Yeah.
So how long, Mike, have you been with JGR?
I've been there 16 years.
Okay, so in that time at JGR, kind of talk to me the teams that you've worked with.
So I've actually been on every car at JGR. My first stint was with Denny. I think I did 10 or 11 years with him. And then I went to the 20 car for a stint, and then I got put on the 19 car towards the start of the chase, and then I did a whole year on that car the year after that, and then I went back to Denny for a year, and then towards the end of that year we got pulled off for the 18, so we swapped crews there, and then this year I'm on the 54 with Ty.
So last year you worked with Denny and you were switched over to Kyle. So talk to me about Denny. I mean, I know he's got his Actions Detrimental podcast, so we know he likes to talk. So kind of share some experiences in that 10 years with him, what it was like working with him.
So obviously I was really young when I was on his car. So it was a lot of fun. Denny had a lot of stuff going on. We used to hang out as a group a lot back, this is 2008, 2009. But obviously I've been on the upsides with him where we won 9 races in a year, and then I've been on the downsides too where we only won 1. So in over 10 or 11 years, you get to kind of experience every up and down and emotional roller coaster that you get as a tire changer.
So are there any particular, I mean, I know he's not won a championship, but are there any particular winning moments or scary moments that I know with Cory, we've talked in the past with Jeff Cordero and the different things that can happen on pit road. I don't think fans can appreciate or truly understand the things that can happen on pit road that can be quite scary, you know, dodging cars. So talk to me about some experiences you might have had with the 11 car on pit road that are similar to that.
So I would probably say one of the worst ones was that we were at a road course, and you know we decided to change it up and do the right sides first. So start on the right and go to the left. So when we were doing that and we get over here to the left, there was the debacle with, I can't remember who the other car was, coming in. He hit our tire, and then Denny started to pull out. Well, what ended up happening is the car ended up catching the hose when he was pulling out. So it ripped the gun out of my hand, cleaned out our front changer, our carrier. But then also, like, the stuff that you didn't see was like the road guys that were standing behind the wall. The hose got ripped out of the pit box, so it snapped their legs out from underneath them, and they hit real hard. I mean, it could have been a lot worse than it was, but it was still pretty aggressive.
Wow. So
they quickly outlawed doing the rights then the lefts on the backward stops, didn't they?
Yeah, that right after that, actually.
It was so much faster though. Like, it was way faster.
Yeah, after that whole debacle, they were done with it.
Yeah, so that's why it got banned. It was actually you guys' fault.
Yeah. So our front changer was out with like a concussion because he got hit with the coupling, the hose coupling across the helmet, like cracked his helmet. He was out for a couple weeks. It was a big ordeal for sure.
Wow, you hear about drivers getting concussions. You never hear about the pit crew members getting concussions. To me, it's fascinating just to think about how you're dodging cars, and now you're talking about those type of things. It's a super dangerous profession that I don't think fans can truly appreciate. So it's interesting to hear those stories. So,
Mikey, on the back, have you been lit up yet, or have you been able to survive all that?
No, I've been able a couple times on the Xfinity side. I've got some pretty close calls, but not bad.
That's the only thing I still like when I'm on the back. Like, I'm always like, man, I'm with Jimmy gas, and now I'm like, Jimmy, don't be spilling no gas everywhere on me.
I know. Yeah. No, I've been pretty fortunate when it comes to that.
All right. So I need some clarification on that, Cory. Being lit up, are we talking about like catching on fire because of fuel or what?
Yeah, basically. I mean, with the one lug deal now, I mean, you're not really shooting sparks, so I don't know there's much of a, worry of it more than maybe stepping in it and slipping in it now. But with the 5 lug deal and you're literally shooting sparks, if there was a lot of fuel and it hit just right, you'd see fires every once in a blue moon. So if it happens, you're basically like knees down in it.
Wow. Yeah, and we've had a couple people on pit road get burned pretty bad from that.
Yeah. We remember Taylor used to run his sleeves all the way up, and he'd burn the hair off his arms all the time. It's like,
Yep.
Dude.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, my gosh. All right. So Cory just brought up the single lug. So last year, it was the first year of the next gen, the first year of the single lug nut. I know there was problems up and down pit road. I know JGR experienced some issues. Did your team experience any of those issues?
Oh yeah, we've had a wheel come off. Yep. So it's just like that transition from obviously 5 lug to 1 lug. It's so much faster, right? Everything's happening at so much faster rate. When you get over there to that left side of the car, you're talking about doing a sub 3-second left side. It's really hard, with 1 lug for your jack man to know. All he sees is the gun go back in, right? So he's keying off of that. So if you ever miss your button on the left side, so if you don't put it back on the on position and you go back in there and you hit that 1 lug and it's not going the right way, all he sees is that movement and he's cutting the car. So
it's more reactionary than anything. It's all happening so fast. Everybody, it just becomes a rhythm of everybody. He slams it. He assumes you've hit it. He's not even. I mean, there's no time to look anymore. He's just running back, grabbing the handle and doing it, hoping you and the guy in the front have hit got it on, whether it's tight or not.
Correct. Yeah, and that's kind of what bit us. I'm not sure if we were the first one. I think we were probably the first one to do it. And the thing about it is, you don't see it happen as much because I think, across the board, as far as between the driver and the crew chief, communication of stopping the car has gotten so much better. Now you might see a car like leave the pit stall, but then back up. And I think, it's just everybody adapting and getting better, and the communication with the radios where we can talk to each other, all the technology's gotten so much better. We can communicate with each other during the stop. So that's helped it a lot too. But it's just, I think the reason you're seeing a little bit less of it, obviously, is because everybody's getting better, right? Like everybody's adapting to the one lug, everybody's getting better. But it's also communication between like the crew chief and driver saying, "Hey, whoa, back up, back up."
What's your thoughts on going back to the standard choreography versus, the other everybody to the front deal that you guys were doing? Is kind of a risk reward deal. If it's all perfect, it worked, but a little bit like when we started letting the jackman run in front of the front guy, it's like it just, again, when it's perfect, it's definitely faster, but there's just so many nuances that can take you out that it ends up being detrimental in a lot of cases. Is that a little bit of kind of why it ultimately they just kind of went back on that?
Yeah, I mean, the stop, obviously, it's like you said, when you hit it, that stop is going to be faster, right? Because you're speeding the back of the car up, everything's going so much faster. But the thing about it, the only really negative to that stop is, the driver really has to be on spot on. Because when
it blew it up big time.
Yeah, like when you have because you got two hoses coming around the front of the car. If he stops long, like it completely. It's just at that point you're like, you know what? Okay, yeah, the stop might be 3 or 4 tenths faster, but how are we going to get a better average doing the old play, or are we going to get a better average doing the new play?
Right.
So you guys,
with the new.
Go ahead.
And with the new play too, like the road guys with the new play, they're just as valuable as we are. I mean, they got a lot going on behind the wall, running the hose down to the back. I mean, they got a lot going on too. So you just put a lot, and I'm just talking out loud. Say if there's 50 things that could go wrong with a traditional pit stop, there's probably 70 that could go wrong with a next gen.
Yeah, it just created more moving parts and more potential for something more catastrophic to happen, to burn you, than just less controlled variables at the end of the day.
Yep.
So effectively, the risk doesn't outweigh the reward. Is that fair?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Okay.
And honestly, I'm shocked I'm shocked I've not seen anybody else at least try it.
Well, do you think they learned from you guys? Because I mean, obviously JGR is such a highly respected team, and they saw you guys doing it. And I can't remember if it was Kyle Busch or some team busted off like a record pit stop, and everybody was talking about it. It was the big conversation on TV, and then things obviously start going wrong. So, do you think that they saw you guys and said, "Hey, if they can't pull it off, we're not going to try it"?
Yeah, but I guess I always play both sides of the fence. But I mean, the way I look at it is we've shown that it has speed, right? And I'm just shocked that nobody even wanted to dabble in it and go, all right, listen, maybe if we can do this better and this better, maybe we can get it to work. I was just really shocked that I never seen anybody try it.
I mean, I'd have to believe everybody probably did at the shop, and it just was this ain't worth trying to carry over to the track type of deal, and more. Yeah. Be my guess. I'm sure everybody tried it. You know how everything is in the sport.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I was just going to ask. So, Mike, who's all the years? Who's your favorite crew chief?
Oh man, I'm gonna probably have to say Chris Gale and James on the 19. Those two they're really good. But I think I really like Chris Gale. He's pretty chill. Like he's very laid back. He stays calm. He don't get fired up. He's good with the guys. I mean, I'd probably have to say Gale right now.
Yeah. I just wish I could ride him a little bit harder. I don't see him enough.
He's a good dude.
Yeah. Him and I used to room together back in the day when Coy drove.
Oh, okay.
So you're with Chris this year with Ty. So what has that experience been like? Because I know you guys set a high bar back at North Wilkesboro. You're in the Pit Crew Challenge. Y'all kill it during that and y'all win. So kind of talk to me about the start of the year, working with a rookie. I mean, obviously he's proven himself winning the Xfinity, but now he's coming up to the Cup. We know that's a completely different game. And now he's up there, and then you guys go to North Wilkesboro in the All-Star race and bust off a, crazy good pit stop. So talk to me about that.
Some guys are like, oh, I don't want to mess with a rookie and stuff like that. But as far as my crew guys, we have a really good group of guys, and we have a lot of fun. We don't hold, we're have each other's back, and going with Ty. I mean, I kind of like it, right? Like you got an opportunity to get this young guy a win, right? And I like that. That don't bother me. That don't bother me one bit. Then obviously we go to the pit stop competition, and my group has a lot of speed, and it was good to go there and show what we're capable of doing. Even though we're not up there contending for wins, right? Everybody wants to win, but that's not what it's all about, right? So we got to showcase that speed at the pit crew competition. So that was fun.
So where do we go? I mean, we've got, I think it's 17 races left in the season. What are your expectations with Ty? I mean, I'm interested to know in the meetings, like the competition meetings, are the pit crew in there? Are y'all talking about what y'all can do to get better and get a win or somehow point your way into the playoffs? What does that look like?
So the pit crew guys don't go in the actual competition meeting, but we always have meetings as a whole, as far as the whole pit stop department on Tuesdays. And we don't really get into that meeting. We really don't get individualized, I guess.
Right.
We just kind of go over the weekend as a group. But I mean, the biggest thing for us is just, we don't have to be the fastest pit crew right now. We just need to be consistent. So I think for us going forward, these next 6, 7, 8 weeks is just about being consistent. We're not shooting for the 8.4s and the 8.5s, but just the 9 flats, 8 9s, 9 flats, 9 1s, 9 2s, and just try to keep them in the race and maybe get them a couple spots here and there. But the biggest thing right now is just being consistent.
So how long does this go? How long do you see yourself staying in this business? How old was your dad when he stepped away?
That's a good question. I don't know how old my dad was when he got away, but I think I'm just going to go until some of these young bucks we have start just showing me that I don't have the speed anymore. But right now it's not happening. So, but when that happens, I'm going to have to step aside for sure.
Okay. Cory, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Tire changers have pretty long longevity, like the fuelers, right?
Yep.
If you're good, you can hang around pretty long because they're not easy to come by.
Yeah, so, and Cory knows as much as I do. With this one lug stuff, it's kind of brought in a whole different athlete. I mean, it's now if you walk up and down pit road now and compared to 10 or 11 years ago, I mean, these guys are bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. I mean, it's brought a whole new group of athletes into the sport.
You mentioned that, and I was thinking about that. So you hear and you read about there are guys who've played college football. I mean, to me, it seems like the pit crew, the driver is obviously the one that gets all the attention, but as everybody talks about, it's a team sport, and you guys screw up, it can screw up the whole day. But you guys are bringing in these guys that are big guys. I mean, they're athletes, Division I athletes that are coming in. I mean, how has that changed the dynamic? Because to me, it seems like these guys come in and they have been participating at a high level of college athletics, but now they're coming into professional sports in a completely different setting. How has it been to being someone who's been a veteran and done this for years, working with them and helping them adjust to the environment? Because obviously they don't come on board a JGR car just by accident. It's over time that they've developed, right?
Yeah, it's being the old guy now. It's fun to work with some of these young guys that like you said, just came out of college and don't really have a clue about racing in general. So it's fun to kind of help these young guys and watch them grow. Like I enjoy helping. I enjoy helping these guys at work. But yeah, it's like I said, it's crazy. You see some of these guys come in, like some of our development jackmans. I mean, they're 6'5", 6'6", 240, and you're like, golly, this guy's massive.
Mike, I'm not on the Cup side obviously anymore, but I'm still around at the track and still know, a good bit of guys, at least the old guard guys like you and I. But it seems to me, and I'm curious your perspective as well, that by and large, your better groups today tend to have a mix of both, because most of these guys that do come from wherever else they came from, they just legit don't know anything about racing other than they showed up and someone showed them how to jack the car or hang a tire or whatever it may be. But like the nuances of the real nitty gritty of the racing and, the strategy and what's kind of going on and the, undercurrent that we know from having been around it for so long, they just don't really know. And when you kind of end up with like a full group of guys that just don't really know the racing, they tend to run into issues with stuff as things happen during stops or just during the course of the race or whatever. Is that kind of a little bit what you've seen as well, or is it kind of maybe not necessarily?
No, it's 100%, right? Because you've got some of these guys like me, and we've got some guys that have been doing it 16 plus years. I think the perfect combination is like, when you bring these young guys onto a team, I think you need to have one or two veteran guys with them, because I'm like I said, I've been changing tires 19 years, and there's still situations that happen that I've never experienced, right? So when you have a veteran guy with those guys to lead them, and if something happens, you can be like, hey, just calm down. This stuff happens, just to keep them and just let them grow and put your hand around them when things aren't going right, because they're young, they're going to make mistakes. So I think it's really good if you're going to bring like a rookie in, put them on a car, to at least have one or two veteran guys to help lead and help them grow and experience, what it's like being on pit road, because as well as I do, pit practicing at the shop and going to the racetracks, two different things.
Oh, 100%. So I was curious, did y'all make it out of there before the rain started? Did you get the whole box torn down before it rained Sunday, or did y'all get?
We all but had it done by the time the rain started. So we were moving.
When I see that happen, I was like, well, I hate it for them. At the same token, all I was thinking was, I know they're trying to bust butt to get this thing torn down before they get rained on.
I looked at that radar and I was like, listen, guys, we got to go.
So let's close with this one, Mike. I'm curious, you've had a really long career on pit road. When you look back in 20 years, what do you think is going to be the highlight? Provided you don't win a championship or something like this year or anytime soon, what is the highlight looking back now?
Even if I won a championship, just say this year, that definitely wouldn't be my highlight. I would say it's probably, over the last 19 years, being in that like team setting, right? And having fun with a group of guys, traveling with a group of guys. Obviously, you're right, pit stops are hard, and you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days and you're going to have bad weeks. But, being able, your job is, my job is to go to work and hang out with 5 or 6 of my buddies every day, pit practice, make it fun, and not to mention, like at JGR, you have 3 other teams. So, you're with a group of guys, you get to experience. It's like I said, you have good days, you have bad weeks, whatever. But, overall big picture, it's being able to have a career, that you can enjoy, right? Like, I don't have a normal job where I'm doing something 9 to 5. I get to go into work and hang out with my buddies and cut up and do some pit stops.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
So we didn't get into it much, but I did want to at least pop a mention to it. So do you enjoy the pit crew stuff more or Giselle's stuff now more?
Well, I don't know. Giselle's stuff took about 25 years, I feel like, off my life. So, it's kind of the same thing. When you run good, it makes, I'm out here in this garage every day working on these go-karts. And when you run good, it makes it worth it, right?
Yeah.
But when you're running bad, it makes you want to sell everything.
Well, she seems like she's she got her first win here pretty recently. I know that was a big high, so congrats there. I know it's a big deal, and seems like she's been running better and better overall, so it's got to be encouraging and help you keep going on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I was doing before I got on this call. And that's my problem is like I just can't like go out there and work on the go-kart and be like, all right, I think it's good. Like if I don't go on the track knowing that I went through every single nut and bolt and it's capable of winning, I'm not happy, and that's in the back of my mind the whole time. So I'm probably a little over the top with it, but it's just kind of my mentality.
Yeah, but you know what? Like whether it's the go-karts or the cup cars, at the end of the day, they are all the same, just less nuts and bolts and less media attention. But you have to treat them the same to have the same opportunity. You never know how the kids are going to show up or what's going to happen or whatever. But obviously, I treat Chase's stuff the same way. Like you have to treat it that way if you want to get the best result. And unfortunately, neither of us are wired of just show up and hang out and be like, oh, whatever happens.
Yeah.
It's all right.
If I get wrecked, I'm throwing the steering wheel across the trailer. If the thing won't turn, I'm not a happy camper.
I don't think either one of you would be where you are today had you not had that drive and that determination to be successful. I think that kind of goes with the territory of any profession. You push yourself, and you guys have both proven that in NASCAR and now obviously with your kids. So that's cool to see. Well, Mike, thanks again for joining us, and appreciate you taking the time to visit with us and kind of share some of your stories. Wish you the best of luck the rest of the season, and maybe we'll have you back on here in the future and talk a little bit more. Maybe we'll talk about a championship.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of the day.